Welcome back to another OCR GCSE business. We're now moving on to 3.4. Should be a relatively short video covering recruitment and selection. So selection is the process of choosing between applicants for a job. So obviously if you put a job advert out there might be hundreds of people applying for that job. So selection is the term that we use to say, how are we going to go about choosing between these different applicants. Human resources or the personnel department. This is the department within the business that deals with recruiting workers and also selecting workers. Recruiting just means trying to hire new people. It also deals with things like pay and any other sort of employee issues that may arise. Analysing HR needs, we'll come on to this in a bit more in a sec, but it's your business thinking about what type of workers do they need to employ. Do they need to hire part-time staff, full-time staff, permanent, temporary? How many employees they need to hire? So that would be your first step when thinking about recruitment and selection. Skills gap is if you've got a sort of area in the business where you haven't got an expertise or experience, and we call that a skills gap. So for example, if you've set up a business but you don't have anyone that can edit or monitor your website, then that's a skills gap. So you might need to hire somebody with good knowledge of website building and things like that to look after your website. So why do businesses recruit? The obvious one is to replace staff. So staff leave for lots of different reasons. They could be retiring, they could be off sick, they could be off on maternity leave. Whatever the reason is, we may need to replace those staff to meet demand. So if our business is growing and getting bigger, or we're becoming more popular, to meet that demand, we may need to hire new staff. If the business is just starting out or growing, again, we might need to hire new staff. And like I mentioned just before, we may have a skills gap in the business that we need to fill. So the recruitment and selection process looks a little bit like this. Don't get bogged down in knowing the specific bits, word for word, but this is generally how most businesses will recruit and select. So we have to analyse first, who do we need? How many people do we need? What types of people do we need? Once we figure that out and what roles we need, we would then advertise the post. We need to advertise it somewhere. Could be on a website, could be on the internet, on an employment website, could be at the job centre, but we put out our advert. Could just be in the shop. If we were a small business, we could put a little sign in the door or something. Once we've done that, hopefully we'll get some CVs and application forms, so people applying for jobs, and we'll go through something called shortlisting. This is when, say, 100 people apply for the job. We whittle it down based on their CV or their application forms, and we whittle it down to reduce it down to a smaller amount of people, usually about 4 or 5. And then after that, we would then go through interview, test them, maybe get them to do some group activities, and we select our candidate after that. So some key documents when planning recruitment: a job description and a person specification. A job description lists the main duties and tasks and responsibilities for a worker. So for example, a teacher, it will say things like must be able to teach GCSE and A level, must be able to have a form group, must be able to work between the hours of 8 and 5, things like that. So it just describes the job that you're going to be doing, but obviously don't say describes the job, because that's just rewording what a job description is. So it lists the main duties and tasks and responsibilities of the worker. A person specification or person spec, this is listing the qualities, qualifications and knowledge that person should have for that job. So for example, like if you were wanting to be a doctor or something, there would be specific qualifications that you would need to have that would be listed on the person specification, and you wouldn't be able to apply for that job unless you had those qualifications. So some businesses will request that you have like a degree or whatever it might be. So it's just lists of things that you must have before you can apply for this job. It may not just be qualifications, it can be things about like your personality and knowledge and things like that. So it could say things like you must have worked 3 years in marketing, or you must be comfortable speaking in front of people. Things like that will be on the person specification. Internal and external recruitment, really easy. Internal is hiring from within the business, and external is hiring from outside the business. So if you hire from within the business, it's going to be a lot cheaper than external. It's going to be a lot quicker. They already will know the business. Internal is basically giving someone a promotion. Negatives is there's an opportunity cost involved. You've probably been taught a lot about opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative. So if we're hiring someone from within the business, we're missing out on being able to hire from outside of the business and all the positives that come with that. They may not have the skills required, those people that are currently within the business, and then you'll be forced to hire externally. So externally, these people are like to provide new ideas because they're coming from outside the business. This is going to be more useful if you already have a skills gap within your business. It can cause unrest between the current employees if it's you bring in a new manager from outside of the business, and it can be a more time-consuming process as you get more people applying for it. Okay, so when you come to design a job advert, these are some of the things that I would expect to see on a decent job advert. So the duties, the qualifications, experience needed, any information about salary and how much you're going to get paid, description of the work you're going to be doing, the hours you'd expected to work, where you're going to be working, any training opportunities that you may get once you've joined, future prospects in the future, what are there opportunities for promotion, things like that, some sort of contact address, and details of how to apply. So if you're a business and you are thinking about advertising for some potential employees, you need some, where would you advertise? You could put it on your website, you could put it on an employment website, you can advertise through put your advert on social media and spread the word there. You could advertise in a newspaper. Now it's important with the newspaper you specify in the exam, is it a local or national newspaper? So if you're like a local bakery, then you'd obviously do a local newspaper. But if you're, I don't know, HSBC, you would probably more likely advertise for your jobs in a national newspaper. It could be specialist magazines. So, if you're trying to hire somebody to, come into your business and help design a new bicycle, you might do put your job advert in Cycling Weekly as pictured in the top right. Job centres and also word of mouth, so telling people to tell other people. Sometimes you might hear the word headhunting. That's a bit of a similar way of word of mouth. Okay, so how do we select between applicants then? So we've got 100 people that have applied and we're thinking about, shortlisting, or maybe we've got through the shortlisting process and we've only got 5 left. How do we choose between them? The first step is usually an application form or a CV. I'll come back to letter of application. So application form, we set up a form as a business and we get individuals to fill it all in and all their information about their previous experience, qualifications, things like that. A CV is open to the employee to have as much creativity as to how they display it, but again, it's usually a list of their qualities, their qualifications, experience, things like that they would then submit. A letter of application is sometimes known as a cover letter. That usually goes alongside either the application form or a CV. This one's good because we can help us judge sort of communication skills, English skills, things like that. Once we have shortlisted, we'd move on to the next one. So once we're down to the sort of remaining 5, we do an interview usually. We can see how well people do under pressure, how they deal with presentation skills, communication. We can get people to do tests and presentations. So once they're in, we could get them to do a little test or, maybe a maths test or something. We can also get them to present on a certain issue to test their social and presentation skills. We could, if we bring in 5, we've shortlisted 5 people, we could get them to complete a task and then observe them completing that task and see what their personal skills are like. Usually then we would check references, so usually 2 people we would ask for each potential employee to vouch for them, to say that they've done certain jobs in the past, they've been a good person, those sort of things. Okay, there's 2 different types of agencies that you need to know. So recruitment agency and employment agencies are good ways of remembering this. Recruitment agencies will help us with the recruitment process. Employment agencies are the list of employees. So recruitment agency will help us with the whole process of recruiting and selecting staff. This can be really good because it saves us a lot of time and it can save us money in the shorter term. If we continuously use recruitment agencies, though, it can cost us a bit of money, and the recruits that they find us may not be specific to our business. Employment agencies are basically a list of employees that you can access on a very short-term basis. For example, if you like on a school scenario, this is where we would go to hire a supply teacher if a teacher is ill. So the employee can usually start very quickly. The employees like to be experienced in that area. It does come at a cost though, and the employee may not be at the required quality that you need. Induction training, I think it's my last slide. Induction, when a new employee starts at a business, they usually go through some sort of induction. This could be an afternoon, a day, or it could be a couple of weeks. Usually it's at the place of work. They get introduced to all of their workers, they get shown where the fire assembly points are, any other sort of health and safety things, where the toilets are, where they can get their food, where the staff room is, all those sort of things to help that employee get settled into their new job. This is really good as it helps to get the employee more familiar with the workplace and hopefully gets their productivity going quicker, so they're more productive and more motivated. This, however, will cost the business money and take them time while they're showing this person around, making sure they're all settled in. I think that's it. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.